Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Spiritual Times with me, Philip Solomon. It's Tuesday, and I always look forward to Tuesday evenings because we always get some great feedback, and I think it's always great that you get good feedback from what you're doing, and you sort of know that you're helping people because that if we weren't and it weren't of any interest to you, it wouldn't be worth doing, would it? But tonight we're going to look at something that really is very, very important and going to help certain parties. Pardon me, very much. Can I just have a little drink there? You've been a frog in my throat. Thank you. It's something that can be quite difficult for many psychics and mediums, and that is having confidence, self-confidence particularly, because it's something over my years of experience, I've seen it destroy many, many very, very good people who could have been good mediums, certainly psychics, who walked away from it and gave it up really because of confidence. And I can help you a bit with that because it's something that I teach in all areas really, not just my work in workshops and training opportunities for people who want to be medium psychics and healers. I mean, I've worked with a lot of sports people. Confidence is very, very important. Can make a massive difference to the footballer, the boxer, the rugby player. Probably, possibly almost 10% of improvement is always there in those sort of individuals, and it applies to everybody else in everyday life as well. So let me start you off with a little bit of advice. Confidence for mediums and psychics. Let's have a look at my notes. Well, it certainly can be developed, confidence, through practice, self-trust, community groups. You get confidence working with community groups, obviously, and following exercises and learning, not copying, but learning from experienced mediums and psychics and mentors as well, learning from mentors as well. You know, people who sort of guide you when you moved on a bit and you're starting to do maybe church work or something like that. You know, to build the confidence that you need to sort of perform at your best, your optimum ways. And, clear confidence can be there for everybody. It's not impossible, you know. The first thing I think that you need to do is to learn to treat yourself and trust yourself. Now you say that's two funny words, treat and trust. Well, I think it's not really. I think it fits very much in the work of confidence. If you do something and you say, gosh, you know, that little bit of confidence experience that I've been taught has made me as I can do this really well. That's a reward, isn't it? It's a reward and get you on the way to doing the work that you want to do. Trust yourself and your abilities. It's natural to have doubts, but it's crucial to trust your own intuition and the connections that you have. Now, especially if you're working as a more developed medium, you know, I myself have had times when I've had messages come through and I thought, oh gosh, I'm not sure of that. You know, I know who I'm with, but it's never going to put that without embarrassing them. You certainly can't, sort of come out with very personal things in front of an audience. You certainly couldn't tell perhaps the young lady who's sitting next to her mum and her dad that there's a baby on the way when that only and that might be even she don't know. You couldn't do that. You'd have to give it in a way that would help her to look into situations. I think that's fairly obvious what I'm saying there, really. But the other thing is when you get a message from the other side. Pardon me, I can't shut this winter cold off at all. It's so easy not to give the message that the spirit people have given you. Now, I had an instance many years ago, but I shall never forget it, of a gentleman coming to me and telling me to go to this particular lady and tell her that he's not angry about the bacon that she'd fed him, um, that the cat had it before him. Oh my gosh, I was thinking to myself, what is this? Are you sure, Spirit? Do it. So I did. And the lady looked at me and says, oh my word, I says, yes, it's absolutely true. I says, I did a very bad thing once. I said, my husband was late coming home and he always used to like a bacon sandwich on a Thursday night. And I'd got it all ready on the table, but the cat grabbed it. and flew off with it basically. So I managed to corner the cat and get it off her. But I did a very bad thing. Too late to go to the shops. So I washed it and I cooked it. But I always felt bad about that, Philip. And and I always, well, I did in the end. I spurted out and told him what I'd done. And he was very angry, but it also made him laugh. So easily I could have sort of chickened out to giving that message, couldn't I? Imagine going to somebody and say, I've got someone from the other side who wants to tell you that they know and remember very about when you give that piece of bacon to the cat and then cooked it for them. I'm keeping completely straight face because this is absolutely true what I'm telling you. And that lady wasn't really that much of a believer. She'd come along with somebody else, but she said, that evidence for me will do for me. No one in this world could have known that except me and my husband. So it learnt me a lesson. I never, ever don't give what spirit give me. If they give me something, I'll have to give it in an accountable way. I've said to you, those of you who've trained with me, you always need to go and do a little accounting course, an accounting, a sort of a social work framework where you learn what you can teach people and what you can't. A little basic counselling course, if you like. You don't need to go and try to be a welfare officer or a fully fledged social worker, but learn a little bit of what you can and can't say to people and learn how to. It's very important, that is. And that will build your confidence as well. But yeah, let's move on anyway and see what the other things I've talked to mention to you, which is important. Obviously, I've spoke to you about trusting your own abilities and accepting what you get, and giving honestly to the people that you're doing the work for, whether it's a one-to-one or 2,000 people, what you've got, and do that. Everyone is a little bit nervous about, sort of going on the as easy as the rostrum work in a church, or maybe in a big hall, big theatres. Everyone has little butterflies. You think of the wonderful Doris Stokes. I'm sure many of you have read her books, and I was lucky enough to get to know Doris Stokes and Doris Collins, the two Dorises that they used to call them in spiritualism. And Doris Stokes always used to be very nervous about performing. So she used to wear a very long dress so you couldn't see her knees knocking. And she used to have the person brought down to her at the front of the stage so she could speak to the person right in front of her rather than going out into the audience the way most of us do. It was a good medium. But that's how she overcame her nerves, and I'm sure she would have got better with it or got to grips with it, else she wouldn't have had the wonderful career that she did have, would she? Yeah. What you want to do is get lots of practicing regularly as well, if you can, doing your mediumship or your psychic work with people you don't now know. I'm emphasising that very, very strongly because I've taken senior students at spiritualist churches in the closed circle. I've taken beginners in the open circle. And it gives you a good opportunity to sort of get used to doing the work. But you're working with people that you know, aren't you? You're working with people that you know. That's not going to expand you the way, if you go and work in groups or go to places or do that sort of thing where you will work with people that you don't know. I always remember one of the great astrologers saying to me that the best way she could teach students of astrology was get them to go and do, well, about 100 free astrology charts with people that you definitely didn't know. And I can see the point of that. Because if you're sitting in your church circle, everybody in there probably goes to the church. It's likely the person who partakes the circle is a regular there, not necessarily. I've never really been a regular at churches that I've taught, sort of taken for open circles or closed circles for that very reason. It's the same, isn't it? Let's be honest. If we go along to a church and we say the medium's up there, she's a member of the committee or he member of the committee or something like that. Okay, she gets underway. Right, I'd like to come to you, Bill. Right, she does Bill's message. I'd like to come to you now, Ted. And now you, Harry or Harriet. It's not Nick or Harry, but we know that she knows them. No, I'm not. He knows them. Maybe I'm not saying that they're deliberately faking, but I'm questioning about the confidence because if they don't go to the stranger who's come along to that church, you would sort of have that question in your mind that you would always think, well, he knows then, she knows then. What does this prove? You know, we've talked about this in circle. I'm not being cruel. I'm just trying to explain to you the best way to get your confidence. You won't get your confidence by, testing out, giving messages to people that you know. You have to be able to find somewhere to go and do them with people that you don't know. So go to a church and join the close circle or the open circle where people don't know you. If you're very, very lucky and you can go for private tuition with a medium teacher or someone to teach you your psychic abilities, if you're in a position that you can afford that, because obviously with most things there's going to be a cost incurred in that. But obviously that's going to fast track you, isn't it? That experienced medium teacher is going to fast track you to do your work, but have a confidence as well. I said there in my notes, join a community, connecting with like-minded individuals that can provide support, shared experiences, and sense of community, and talk about things that might affect your confidence. In studying. I suppose I don't like the word paranormal for the spiritual work, but you take my point, don't you? You will get on a lot better going along to somewhere like that, I think, than your local church. Could be your local church as well because it's nice for you, it builds confidence. That's probably not the best place as well, your local church, to do if you're at the stage you're going up as a fledgling, to do your first demonstration, perhaps a friend with you or a group. If you can, I used to try and arrange to take my trainees to different churches, and I wouldn't tell them where they were going until the week before, and it worked. And they would almost always say to me, "Oh, I'm so glad you did that, Philip, because it's given me the opportunity to prove to myself that I can do the work. It's not my imagination, or I'm not working with people that I know, you know." I'm not falling into that trap, if you like. You need to learn to trust your intuition now and pay attention, to that gut feeling and the impressions that you will get, even if they seem totally illogical. Just try to talk about and give what Spirit have given you, the way you would talk, to the best of your ability. Don't overcook it. Definitely don't, just make things up. I don't know, other mediums out there in churches who just maybe TV mediums. I don't know, whoever who just make things. I don't know. I don't know. If you've had really good training and you have basic medium and empathy, have empathy to care about people, you can try and do it for real. Don't need to spend a lifetime, sort of going up there and doing almost an act, if you like, or doing readings of, that have no meaning at all. Avoid comparisons, though. That is very important. I used to, when I was building my confidence, I was very cheeky, really. I used to go and write, I said, "I'm the best medium in the country. No one can touch me." And really, it was for the building my own confidence, really. And I'm wanting to make a breakthrough to get into radio and TV and things like that, which I did. But you do have to be a bit blasé with perhaps not that much, but you do have to be a bit confident about speaking about yourself. But going to see other mediums, if you go to that show and it's just because you admire that medium and you hope that you'll get a message, that's great. But I don't know if it's such a good thing to go along and see a way a medium works, because if you see them and again, I say that you think that they're working with people that they know, it's a red flag, isn't it? And you're going to think, oh, well, if that's what they have to do, that's what I've got to do. No, 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 no. That's definitely not what you must do. And I'm sure most of you wouldn't. I'm sure you can understand what I'm saying. So avoid comparisons, 'cause you can do. You can go along and say, I don't know if you'd have gone and seen I'm just trying to think of the celebrity mediums. Derek's gone now, ain't he? I'm still with us. You can come and see me, but I don't do many events these days. Colin's gone, Colin Fry. But there are some good mediums out there, and you can go and see them work and go for that reason. But don't go along thinking that you've got to have any comparisons in the way that you work. They will also, at that level, have a lot of stagecraft. I used to have a lot of mediums when I trained them and we'd done a bit of mentoring with them and say, well, I want to get onto stage now. I want to be working, sort of those sort of events. Well, when you do that, you need to have a little bit of stagecraft as well. And when I say stagecraft, be confident, how you go on stage, how you present yourself. Don't appear nervous. If your knees are knocking, like Doris Stokes says, she used to have that. I don't know, wear some big flared trousers or something if you're a man, and a long dress if you're a woman. No, I jest, honestly. You can get over that. But yeah, it's a great thing to work on your confidence in life as well. Confidence in life will make a massive difference to you. If you're not confident about you, then you'll find it very, very hard to try and gain your confidence by seeing how other people operate. It's just not the best way to do things. I will say as well, I'm a little bit old-fashioned in this way, really, but I think if you're taking the divine service, it's say at a spiritualist church, then you dress respectfully. I would wear a suit and tie, but I'm not suggesting that you have to do that if you're not comfortable with it. But I don't really think it presents you in the right way to represent spirit if you're up there with a pair of jeans with the knees all torn and tattered and a leather waistcoat. I've seen it. I've seen it. And some of them have had ability, and I thought, you know what, my lad, I could get you going really and get a bit of work on you, but you need to have a little bit more respect for spirit because that will build your confidence. It's easy to explain how you come to understand that. Look at it like this, ladies. If you're going out to a big event, or we all used to go dancing and things like that, didn't we? You wouldn't go out there in your everyday working clothes. We used to dress up to look good. It's part of it because looking good and feeling good helps you to do the work that you are going to do. And spiritual work is just the same. If you feel and you look good, you'll do your work better. I have a lot of experience, well, people who certainly doing the work, I will say, who come along for me and book me for, sort of private advice on these things. And that's one of the things I'll say, and I'll say it to you as well. I think as well, you need to take care of yourself physically and emotionally. And that leads me to something, one of the old chestnuts, if you like, and you're going to probably think, oh, he's going to go on about it against psychic protection. But it is important. Before you do any work at all, say a little prayer to who you presume to be good or godly, and ask for psychic protection for you to do the work and for all those people out in the audience. There might be 2,000 of them, it doesn't matter. All of them to be kept safe and sound. Because while you're doing spiritual work, you are opening yourself up to the other side. And, you don't want to be working with anything from the lower elements or anyone who'd want to come along and have a bit of fun with you. Would you really? And at the end of the evening as well, if you're in a spiritual church, they'll probably say a closing prayer, which is part of psychic protection and the same thing, really. But if you're doing it, say, in a restaurant or somewhere like that, you don't have to make a big thing of it, but just close it down with protection as well. Builds your confidence as well, so as you don't sort of feel, oh, I've had problems now. Now I'm going to move on to something for self-confidence building for psychics and mediums, which is very, very important because you have to learn to do this. No matter how good you are doing that demonstrations, there are people out there who will even come along to deliberately make you look a fool and say things that now to everything you give. I remember once doing a small event, and I think there were about 20 people there, and I went to every single one of them. 18 accepted everything spot on, really impressed. Then this one persons sitting together, decided that they were going to say no or not accept anything that I said. It came out later. I was told later by somebody else who'd been at that event, as this person was a local medium some, of some, I don't know, of some known ability, or bits and bobs and that. But it will happen to you. And the best thing I can say to you to gather your confidence up very, very quickly, if that happens to you, if you're in doing your demonstration or you're working psychically one-to-one, I'll tell you about doing it with one-to-one in a minute. But if someone's doing that to you, you know that they're doing it to you, take it away immediately. Say, okay, I'll leave that with you. And you probably thought, no, I'll leave that with you. Close it down and move on. Don't allow those people to try and affect your confidence, because that's what they will try to do. And it applies to all of us. I mean, I've had these conversations with Derek Ukora, with other famous mediums, Colin Fry, people working out. There are people out there, generally, sad thing is, they're generally people who, sort of working in the field, but they want to make those who they think are better than them either look foolish or try and get a little bit of attention for themselves. That can really affect your confidence if you don't listen to what I've told you. I've had people come to me who've been doing that work, even in their own church, and some bad feeling or something, and they've given the message from the Spirit, and the person said, no, I don't understand it at all. Move on. Close it down, move on. You don't need that, because it will affect your confidence. And it can affect your confidence for a long while, things like that. Because it's only natural you're going to think, oh gosh, if that man or whoever said no to everything, where am I getting this from? Is it my imagination? That's part of being a human being, questioning yourself. But don't let that, pardon me, I do apologise for this wretched cold and wretched engine. But that's the most important thing probably I've taught you tonight in this class. Take it on board, make a few notes if you want to, and remember it as best that you can. It's always good as well if you can get the chance when your development's moving along to that stage, is to get yourself a really good mentor to come along to where you're doing your events in the early days. Possibly have you even come up on stage, or the rostrum and work with you. If I wasn't very keen on doing that, really, I much preferred to sit in the audience and see how they got on. And then if I could say that they were having struggles with maybe obviously someone who's trying to make them look silly, then I would step in and help them. How did I do that? Well, I don't know if I should really tell you that, this really, but I would pick up that message that I'd given. I would tell them something that would really shake them to their boots. And really, it was good for them, really, because it'd probably make them stop doing that sort of thing. But, you don't really want to do that, but if it has to be done, it has to be done. Your confidence is incredibly important. And I haven't said too much about, being as wicked as a psychic with that sort of work. It's just the saying, you're doing exactly the same type of work. It's not on a spiritual, well, it is on a spiritual context, but it works in a different way. If I'm doing that sort of reading, I enjoy doing a card reading for people. I very much like the original Romany Oracle cards. That's the ones that I use. And I think you have to carry a bit of gypsy blood within you to use those. But yeah, I enjoy doing those. But first and foremost, I'll never get away and forget that my main work is a spiritual medium, proving to people that life goes on, it doesn't change, and they just go into a new life, and they're still there to communicate with you. Practice self-care, taking care of your physical. I said physical as well. If you're not well, it's a difficult one. That if you're not feeling well, some people say don't do your work that night. But in my experience, like tonight, I don't feel very well tonight actually, but I have to do this. This was I've agreed to do this for you every Thursday, so I have to come on and do it. If I sound a little bit gruff, forgive me, but Spirit will get you through doing the work. But if you do really not feel up to it, then it's probably, the best not to do it really, because you donate to be in reasonable health. It's emotionally and mental conditions as well. If you have any emotional or mental conditions, much better to sort all those out first or get under control and then take up your mediumship. It doesn't mean that you can't do the work. Some people will say, oh, she's all over the place. He acts daft, you know. But sometimes the reason for that can be underlying emotional problems that they have. And when those problems are sorted out, they can sometimes turn out to be excellent mediums or psychics because they have that empathy and understanding and probably not judgmental of people. Because you have to be careful of that when you're building your confidence. It's easy to be judgmental. I could have been judgmental of those people over my career who've said no to something that I've given when I know it's right. I'm going to say now I'm very experienced and I've worked a lot on my confidence. We all have to. And I come from a family of well-known mediums, you know, and also show business, and that's how I'm used to that sort of work, and not that much generally phases me. But I can pass my wisdom on to you to help you, can't I? And get you going forward in these things. You can use exercises as well that will help you with your, your ability to get your confidence. One thing I would suggest is reading people's auras. You don't always, oh, pardon me, I do apologise. You don't always have to let them know that you're looking at their auras, you know, but we do, don't we? And, you can get a lot of confidence from that, when you start to see the aura clearer. One thing that I always used to teach all my students in the very early days was learn to relax, sit in a darkened room, probably study a small candle or a small object and learn to look at it in a very focused way. That will help your confidence to do exactly that when you're doing readings, singularly, private readings, or from the stage. That will help you a lot, that will. And it's one I suggest you do. Yeah, okay. What else can I advise you on? Right. Don't try not, once you've got underway, to look for guinea pigs to practice on. I don't mean the little fairy ones, I mean in people. I think it's all right in the very early days, but very quickly you need to stop doing readings for your family and your very close friends. I don't do readings from my close family at all, and I think all the better mediums that I've met over the last 50 years have all said the same, It's you're not going to get the linkage that's going to prove to you you can do your work, are you? Because, if you're doing a reading for your daughter or your son or your auntie, uncle, something like that, that's not really going to develop you that much. I hope you don't go out now and get buying guinea pigs. Now I've said that. I didn't mean that at all. I'm sure you understand that. Yeah, I suppose the last thing I'd say about gaining confidence, I mean, this is obviously aimed tonight at mediums and psychics, but if I'm working with sports people, very important to have confidence. And I always think with football players, 10% of it have not learned about these sort of techniques, never get that extra, maybe 5%, 10% that makes all the difference, because it's definitely in your head to succeed. I've worked with some very famous boxers, and you've got to have a lot of confidence in that and be very focused in that sort of thing. When you're getting in the ring and the man there or woman those days is going to try and knock your block off, you've got to remember all your training. You've got to be totally confident to handle yourself in a way that that doesn't get in the way of things. I once worked with a football player, a very good football player, who the football club had paid a hell of a lot of money for him. And he just couldn't score a goal. He played for other clubs and couldn't score a goal. And I worked with him and made a few suggestions to him, which he took on board. And the very end of doing his training with me, he started to bang the goals in again, left, right, and centre. And I get a bit, I have a little bit of a thing about that really, because somebody would promise me a lot of money if I could get him to do that. We always like a bit of cash, don't we? And the club never give me that money. Never mind, doesn't matter. The important thing is helping the individual and groups. Now, again, you can do all sorts of training for different things in your mediumship work and your psychic work. But if you see any that are anything to do with confidence, and as I say, you can afford to go along to them at one of the spiritual colleges. Well, there's some very, very good work now on the internet, on Zoom, isn't there? Things like that where you can, do courses. I do a very, very interesting course for building confidence. And, down all, I'll tell you another thing as well that you always want to remember. I see some of these courses, particularly when I was in America, and, $400 or $500 for 2 or 3 lessons, I was thinking, well, I'd probably do that at home for about 50 quid, Don't necessarily always think that the most expensive is the best. The best way to find out that sort of workshop and how they're going to really progress you is from something I've probably talked to some of you about before, and that is recommendation and results. If you can come across somebody who sort of says, "Oh, I went to see Josephine, and she helped me with this confidence building, and I'm getting amazing results now," you would do because it works. Well, I hope that's been of help to you. We're doing these little classes for you on every Thursday at 7 o'clock. I do feel that, having confidence as a medium and a psychic, whatever stage you are, having good confidence really helps you. Well, that final thing I'm going to say then on that, because I know people who've gone right through their career and they're doing the work and they're still going up there and, doing the Tom, Dick and Harry thing, and I'm thinking, well, you could do better than that. What are you doing? And I think, you know what it is? He doesn't have the confidence. He doesn't have the confidence. Well, I'll tell you something. If you have the confidence, Spirit will never let you down. But if they think that thinking, oh well, it's me, it's coming from me. I'm the one who does all this. Then you're setting yourself up to fail. Just give what Spirit gives you, and you will quickly get confident to accept and give what you get. Think about me and the lad with the bacon. I'm sure that's made all of you laugh. But it's a true story. It's a true story. Didn't affect me, but if she'd have said, no, I don't know what you're on about, I just closed on and moved on. But I think the things I've said to you will help you. And obviously, if you want to get more involved in it, look for somebody who you can take a workshop with on that sort of thing. I don't do so much these days, but I don't do things. I am available, and something interests me, I'll certainly take it on board if it's coming along and doing a workshop for you, maybe a one-off at your church or at your centre or something like that, and you've got a group of people who'd like to know more about being confident in themselves and achieving in life, because that's what it's all about. Remember that old saying, once you come to understand it, tell yourself, in every day, in every way, I'm getting better. And if you keep reminding yourself of it enough, well, you will, because it works. All right, then, ladies and gentlemen, I say good night and God bless. Finish with my old thing that I always say: be good, be good in life. But if you can't be good, be careful. Good night and God bless.